Hi, Democrats. Today is Thursday, November 8th. November. Can you tell I'm ready for the election to be over already? It's Thursday, October 8th. You have one more day to get registered to vote. Tomorrow is the deadline in Oklahoma to be registered to vote in order to participate in the November election. So you still have 24 hours to get out there, make sure that everybody that you know who is eligible is registered to vote. You have 24 hours. Go out to iwillvote.com and make sure that you are registered. Check your polling place. Share it with your friends so they can check and make sure that they're registered. 24 hours to get registered. So it's super important. Don't let that slip. I am hopefully going to be joined today by our Vice Chair, Dave Ratcliff. And we're going to give you guys kind of a debrief on what we thought of the debate last night. So stick around. So while I wait, I will talk about the 4 ways to vote. There are four ways to vote. I want to encourage everyone to vote in the way that makes the most sense for them. So there is vote from home. So you can either hand deliver your ballot back to the county election board. And this is something that never occurred to me, but Dave learned yesterday. Even if you hand deliver your ballot, even if that is your plan, you must attach a copy of your ID. They're going to ask you for your ID when you turn in your ballot so they can sign you off that you are you, but they need a copy of your ID for the ballot opening process. So make sure that you have a copy of an ID that does not expire before November 30th attached to your ballot if you're going to go that way. Either do the copy of your ID to a ballot or have it notarized. So you can hand deliver it or you can put it in the mail. You still have a little bit of time where you can still put it in the mail and be guaranteed that it's going to get there. But the clock is ticking. So there's hand deliver your vote from home ballot or put it in the mail. The third way that you can vote is early voting, which is October 29th, 30th, and 31st. That is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday directly before the election. In every county but Tulsa, early voting happens at your county election board, not at your polling place, but at your county election board. If you live in Tulsa, early voting is at One Oak Baseball Field downtown at 201 North Elgin. That is the entrance that is at the intersection of Elgin and Reconciliation Way. Because you can get into the baseball field in all different ways. But the entrance where you need to enter to vote is at 201 North Elgin. And that's the entrance that intersects with Elgin and Reconciliation Way. And then the fourth way you can vote is in person on the day of Tuesday, November 3rd. Now, if you have the kind of job where you have to notify your boss of your time and where you are, you have to notify your boss has to give you time off work to vote. Not a day, but just a couple of hours. He has to give you time. He has to allow you time to be able to cast your vote. But the only way you can hold them to it is if you can prove that you asked in advance. And not the day of, not a few minutes before, but a minimum of 3 full days before. You need to ask. You need to tell them of your plan to vote. Are you going to vote beforehand? Are you going to vote at lunch? Are you going to vote after work? You need to work that out with your boss. And there's no sense in making it adversarial. Just tell your boss now that you plan on voting and let him work out the schedule, him or her work out the schedule so that you can vote. So make a plan to vote. I don't care how you vote. I don't care if you vote from home like I'm going to do. I don't care if you vote early. I don't care if you vote in person. I just want you to vote. It's really important that you make a plan to vote because people who make a plan are more likely to actually vote. And when we're talking about voting, I want to encourage you to not only think about the presidential level, but to think about local candidates because they need your help. Because all we talk about is the presidential race. But the closer, I'm quoting Jana Harkins here, but the closer the rep lives to your home, the more impact they have on your daily life. So think about that. That's your school board, your city council, your state house, your state senate. Those races are really important and they affect your day to day. Find a couple of candidates to help. Drop literature, put out signs, write postcards, share their social media, do all those things. They need your help. So it looks like Dave has joined us. Hi, Dave.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
What you got there on your shoulder, Dave?
Obviously, as always, a little. just, just some of those killer pinch flies.
All right. So
sorry, couldn't resist.
Awesome. So I, live tweeted and live Facebooked all through the debate. It was a very different debate than we sat through last week. And I didn't get your take on the debate when we talked a little bit earlier today. I think he came unplugged. Technical difficulties. That's what happens when you go live. So I was going to let him go first. So I will tell you what my thoughts of the debate were. We did not expect the bloviation that we experienced last week, but we did expect a show, and we got a show. I anticipated that Vice President Pence was going to try and set the pace. I was wrong. I thought that he was going to try and slow down the conversation so that he could calmly answer. I was wrong. He came out swinging, but he did try to give calm answers. And what struck me as I was watching it, just because you lie with a calm voice does not mean you're not lying. And yeah, he was still lying. He was still not taking responsibility as the leader of the coronavirus task force. He's the leader of that failed exercise. And it is failed, evidenced by the fact that the president got COVID, that 34 people who interact at the White House have now, in the last 2 weeks, been diagnosed with COVID. And I'm not real sure if people heard that he is the leader of that task force, and we cannot let that go. But Dave, what did you think?
Well, and I don't want to repeat anything that you've said because you hit a lot of good points. But last night, we saw more of the same lies and the same interruptions, just this time in a different city by a different person. It's certainly not surprising because Vice President Pence was forced to answer for the same failures. But in sharp contrast to Pence's lies and deflections, Senator Harris spoke directly to the American people. She spoke about families across the country and how COVID-19 is impacting them. Nearly 30 million Americans are unemployed. More than 7 million Americans are infected with COVID-19. And she also mentioned the fact that 1 in 5 businesses, small businesses, are closing their doors. Mike Pence could not outline, as you pointed out, a plan to address coronavirus. He still does not have a plan to protect Americans with pre-existing conditions. And he didn't answer questions that the moderator put to him, either to explain the failures of the last 4 years or to explain what they would do in the next 4. And more like you pointed out, just because Pence doesn't shout does not mean he did not lie and interrupt. Just because his voice was even, it did not mean he was being truthful. He makes things sound good, even if his lies and distortions are delivered with confidence and in fuller sentences than Trump does. And let's make no mistake about it. Pence spent most of his time mansplaining or interrupting Senator Harris or Susan Page. And in a time when their campaign is hemorrhaging women voters, last night did nothing to help them in that. Pence did not answer some very basic questions. He just wanted to deflect, and he was rude, ineffectual, and very weak. And that's not going to fly with Americans. Americans see through their lies and distortions, and they are sick and tired of them. They want a leader who will be straight with them and have a plan to turn the crisis around that we now face. And that is exactly what we heard from Senator Harris.
So let me say this, Dave. You said it all. you said it all. I was just going on the take, but you said it all, and that's it. As a woman, and as a woman from an underrepresented community, as I sat there watching him overtalk his time, as I sat there listening to him, as Susan Page kept saying, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Vice President, and he just kept talking, it struck me that he is like the worst boyfriend that you wish you never had to see again. And we had to watch him on TV being that abusive boyfriend who says your words don't matter. It was a sad display. And I hope that people saw that he is just as awful as President. Just it's a different tone, right? It's just a different. It's the same book. It's just a different chapter. And I hope that people saw that there was no plan, that he is dismissive of women, that he takes no responsibility. He had the nerve to bring up the ACA. They've had 3.5 years. Where's their plan?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. And they have had no plan. No plan whatsoever.
No plan. So my two, I'm going to tell you my two favorite, and you tell me your two favorite. My two favorite lines of the evening was at the very beginning, and she did it a couple of times. At the very beginning, when he tried to overtalk her, and she looked him in his eye, and she said, "I'm speaking." I love that because she was recognizing what a jerk he was being, and she was making sure that everyone else could see it. Secondly, my second favorite is when she said, if you have a pre-existing condition, they're coming for you. If you are 26 years old and you're on your parents' insurance, they're coming for you. I hope that doesn't fall on deaf ears. I hope that people understand that while they're over here making a lot of noise, they're not talking about truth.
Yep, you're right.
What was your favorite moments of the evening?
Well, obviously, the two you point out were two of my favorites. And then, obviously, I also like The Fly. Even though it was just driving me nuts just to see it sitting there forever. But
it's like, could he not feel it? Just, it was over there for longer than 2 minutes. Well, so now with the news that the planners of the debates understand that there is no reason for them to be in the same room. It's not responsible. It's not healthy. And they decided it was going to be virtual. Do you think that Trump will give up the opportunity to be on TV? Or do you think he's really going to do the rally?
I think he will. I think he will do something other than the debate because he has performed so poorly, and he's scared to death of being in a situation where they can just cut him off like they should. And so, yes, I think that he will do a rally. He will do something other than a debate.
Well,
because he performed so poorly, and his numbers have gone down since the debate.
Perfect segue. So you said his numbers have gone down since the debate. So I'm a little concerned. I don't want us to get comfy with the numbers, with the polls, right? Polls, Schmolls. Yes. The polls do look great, and you wanna revel in them and be glad for them. But I want to make sure that everybody remembers we have to vote. We have to vote.
because I think most of us, including myself, 4 years ago, were very confident that Hillary was going to win, and nobody expected all the Rust Belt states to swing like they did.
Absolutely. They were telling us every day of the polling numbers and how she was ahead 7 points, and he couldn't catch her. And we have President Trump.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can't put off.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I've been taught, in my entire political life, you always run like you're tied or a little behind. You never run like you have a comfortable lead. So we've got to keep working.
And that is what I need everybody to focus on. We have to run all the way to the end. We have to run all the way to the end, not just for Biden Harris, which we have to have so we don't lose our democracy, because our democracy is on the ballot, but we have to run to the end for our House candidates and for our Senate candidates and for our congressional candidates and our U.S. Senate. We have to run. We can't get too complacent about Kendra. We have to continue to work for Kendra. We can't give up on some of our other candidates. We have to run to the end. So if you have any time this weekend, the weather's supposed to be great. If you have any time this weekend, please find a candidate to help. And if you don't want to be outside, they all have phone banking opportunities. They all have postcard opportunities. They need your help. Dave, did you want to add anything else?
Well, I would like to add, and I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but, I take, along with all of them, but I also take Abby Broyles, very seriously, because for the last 20 years, I've been making 1 to 2 trips a year to DC, and every time I'm going, I schedule a meeting with Inhofe with the understanding that he's going to meet with me personally. And that's with his scheduler. And then one of the staffers will call or send an email asking what I want to talk about. And as soon as I say, I want to talk about Oklahoma working family issues, I get a call back then, tell me, unfortunately, something's come up and I'll just be able to meet with a staffer or an aide. And that has been consistent for 20 years, 1 to 2 times a year, consistently. He just flat doesn't care about Oklahoma's working families and doesn't want to hear about their issues.
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for pointing out that direct contact with a sitting senator that needs to leave. If he doesn't want to hear from us, we should want him representing us. So make a phone call, or 10 or 100, spend an hour making phone calls for Abby, donate to her campaign. If you want to see her on more commercials, she needs more money, donate to her campaign. Inhofe has gotten comfortable and we need to unperch him.
Yes.
Right. So as we leave, I want to make sure that you make a plan to vote. I didn't say it yesterday and I didn't say it earlier today, but I want to say it. This is a very important election. It is a very consequential election, and there will be a lot of people who show up. And on most ballots all over the state, we have a couple of state questions. We have judges, and we have ballot initiatives and charter amendments. And so it's going to take longer to vote. I am begging you to stay in line. As long as you get there before the polls close, and don't be pulling in as the polls close, but get there and get in line. If you are in line, they have to allow you to vote. Stay in line and make your voice heard through your vote. So, bye for now. Sharing is caring. Tomorrow at 4:15. Dave, I'm so glad you were able to join us. Say bye.
Bye. Thank you all.